This video is about review for Final 2. Establish the following identities. For number 1, left-hand side equals cosine theta plus sine square theta and a cosine theta plus 1. Remember when you get 1 plus or minus cosine theta or 1 plus or minus sine theta, you got to use conjugate multiply. Therefore, we got the cosine theta plus 1, I turn into 1 plus cosine theta. Then we multiply its conjugate, that's 1 minus cosine theta. For 1 plus cosine theta times 1 minus cosine theta, we got 1 minus cosine square theta. That is sine square theta. So reduce. You will get cosine theta plus 1 minus cosine theta. That's equals to 1, equals right hand side. We finish proof. Go to number 2. We got cosine square theta and a sine theta minus 1 plus sine theta equal to negative 1. So left hand side equals cosine square theta over sine theta minus 1 plus sine theta. Remember, we need to get 1 plus or minus cosine theta or sine theta to do the conjugate multiply. When you get the sine theta minus 1, we do the negative top and the bottom. Therefore, we got 1 minus sine theta and top is negative cosine square theta. Then we can do conjugate multiply. We multiply 1 plus sine theta, top and bottom. Then plus sine theta. For conjugate multiply, these two, you will get the 1 minus sine square theta because A plus B times A minus B. That is A square minus B square. For this one, we got the cosine square theta. Then you can reduce. So we got negative sine, 1 plus sine theta, then plus sine theta. Then we do distributive property now. You will get negative 1 minus sine theta plus sine theta. That equal to negative 1 equals right hand side. Now let's go to number 3. Your left hand side equals sine theta minus cosine square theta 1 minus sine theta. Multiply by 1 plus sine theta, top and bottom. So we got 1 minus sine square theta means cosine square theta. So we reduce. We got sine theta. Negative sine here we have to put parentheses 1 plus sine theta. So do distributive property. You will get the sine theta minus 1 minus sine theta equal to -1. That equals right-hand side. Look at number 3. Determine the amplitude, period, phase shift, and vertical shift, and a graph on the given graphing paper. For y equals -3 cosine 2x plus 2 pi over 3 minus 1. First of all, remember we need a transformation formed function. In other words, we need a sine or cosine, b parentheses x minus c plus d format. That's y equals. Therefore, we need to take these two outside. We got the 2. Then x plus, using 2 pi over 3 divided by 2. Reduce, you will get the pi over 3. So plus pi over 3 minus 1. That's the first step. So amplitude, that's 3. And b, that's 2. Phase shift, that's pi over 3. Inside is a liar, therefore you move to the left, pi over 3. Vertical shift is 1, but you need to go down 1. Period, we do 2 pi over b, means 2 pi over 2 equals pi. New origin, that's the opposite of this c and d. Negative c and d. Therefore, we got negative pi over 3 and -1. For maximum and minimum, you change cosine function or sine function into plus or minus 1. Then work that out. We got -3 times plus or minus 1 minus 1. So we got -3 times 1 minus 1 equals -4. -3 times -1 minus 1 equals 2. So maximum, that's 2. Minimum, that's -4. When you sketch the graph, you have to analyze the graphing paper. For this graphing paper, the unit equals, we have 3 units between pi over 2 and 0. So we do pi over 2 divided by 3. Got the pi over 6. Each unit stands for pi over 6. The period of a given trig function, that's pi. So how many units in this given graphing paper stand for one period of this trig function? We do pi over 6. Jump, you will get 6. 6 units stand for one period. So let's sketch the graph. We need a new origin that is negative pi over 3 and a -1. Each unit that is pi over 6. Second, that's 2 pi over 6. Reduce, you will get the pi over 3. Therefore, you will get negative pi over 3 and a -1 will be here. Then we create the new origin. So create the new coordinate plane. Since 6 units stand for one period, so we will count 6 units to the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Middle, middle, and a middle. Then go up 3, go down 3 because our amplitude is 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 here. Then check the pattern of this trig function. That's negative cosine pattern, means this pattern. We need 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to get started from the minimum on the y-axis now. You will get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then connect these 5 points. You will get like this. If you want to sketch more period, you can check the pattern. You will draw another 6 from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you get the half, half, half. Then find the more points. Here, 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 and also here. Then keep connecting these points to get the more period. Here's the graph for y equals negative 3 cosine 2x plus 2 pi over 3 minus 1. For number 2, y equals 2 sine 2x minus pi over 2 plus 3. First of all, we need to change into transformation form the trig function. So we divide it by 2. You will get 2 sine. Take 2 outside. You got the x minus 2 drop down. You got the pi over 4. Then plus 3. Amplitude, that's 2. B, that's 2. Phase shift, pi over 4. But you need to move to the right side. Vertical shift, that is 3. But you need to go up 3. Period, 2 pi over 2 equals pi. New origin, that's the opposite of this. Then D. So you got the pi over 4 and 3. Maximum, you need to change sine function into plus or minus 1. Therefore, you will get the 2 times plus or minus 1 plus 3. Separate 2 times 1 plus 3, that's 5. 2 times negative 1 plus 3 equals 1. So your maximum, that's 5, and a minimum, that's 1. Analyze the given graphing paper. We got the unit. That's pi over 6. Because that's pi over 2 divided by 3. Pi over 6. Period for the given function, that's pi. So number, how many units stand for 1 period? We do the pi over 6. That is 6. Let's get the new origin, pi over 4 and 3. Pi over 4. That's here. 3. 1, 2, 3. That's here. Then let's create a new coordinate plane. Use these points. Then we need 6 units to create the 1 period. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Half, that will be here. Half, that will be here. And a half is here. Then you go up 2, go down 2. Because that's our amplitude. Then we need to check the pattern for this positive sine function. That will be this pattern. We need 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So get started from the origin, new origin. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you need to connect these 5 points. You can get more period if you keep going. Then you need to connect another period. For number 4, a formula for the depth d meters of water in a harbor at a time t hours after midnight is given. This trig function. What's p, q, and k when t between 0 to 24? First of all, we got to know the transformation form. The trig function is y equals a cosine b x minus c then plus d. A equals maximum minus minimum over 2. D equals maximum plus minimum over 2. And B equals 2 pi over P. P is period. C, that's the starting point. So we will work out our own trig function according to this pattern. Then we compare to the trig function we are looking for. From the graph, we know maximum equals 14.6. Minimum equals 8.2. Therefore, amplitude A equals 14.6 minus 8.2 over 2. You will get a 6.4 over 2. That's 3.2. And for midline, D equals 14.6 plus 8.2 over 2. You got 22.8 over 2. That is 11.4. Then we're looking for period this time. For period, this is a half period. 12 minus 6 equal to 6. So you need to multiply by 2. 2 times 12 minus 6 equals 12. Therefore, for B equals 2 pi over 12 means pi over 6. Let's check C. When you go to starting point, you have to check the given pattern. For given pattern, we got the key times t means we don't have a c, therefore c equals 0. What's the meaning for c equals 0? Means starting from y-axis. So we sketch the graph like this. This is your starting point. Cosine, that's the pattern. This pattern tells us it's a positive cosine x pattern. Therefore, we can write down our equation now. Y equals A, that's a 3.2, this positive. Cosine B is a pi over 6 x. D, that's plus 11.4. Then this time, you need to compare the trig function we got and the pattern we needed. We compare that, we know P is our D. That means equals 11.4. Q equals our A. That is a 3.2. And a K, that equals our B. That's pi over 6. That's the solution. Don't be confused for PQ here. P basically is a constant number, and a Q is the amplitude. Now let's go to B. Fx equals A plus B sine Cx. Find the value A, B, C according to this given graph. From this given graph, we know the maximum equals -2. Minimum equals -8. Therefore, for the pattern y equals A sine B x minus C plus D, we got the A equals maximum minus minimum over 2, which means -2 minus -8 over 2 equals 3. For D equals maximum plus minimum over 2, -2 plus -8 over 2 equals -5. When you get the midline, you need to sketch that, because for sine function, the starting point gets started from this midline. And a period equals. For this function, we will get 2 maximum. For each unit, we know that pi over 4. Because we have pi over 2, there's 2 units between that. So we got the pi over 4. Then we count the units between these 2 maximum. You will get 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got the 4 times pi over 4. That equals to pi. So P equals pi. And a B equals 2 pi over P. That means 2. For this C, we know starting point. When you check a starting point, you have to go back, check the pattern for given trig function is this one. We know that C equals 0, because for this Cx, they didn't add a constant number like this. So C equals 0 means starting from y-axis. Let's sketch that graph. Since this sine function gets started from y-axis, you have to sketch like this. From this pattern, we know that it's negative sine x pattern. In other words, we know this a, that will be negative 3. Now we can write down this trig function according to our pattern. That is y equals negative 3 sine. B is 2. C equals 0, so we write down here the 2x. Then plus D, that means minus 5. After you get this trig function compared to the given pattern, we got to know that A equals our D, that is negative 5. B, that's amplitude, negative 3. That's our A, that equals negative 3. And C equals 2. This is our solutions. Let's go to C. Fx equals P plus Q cosine Rx minus D. Q and D are positive. Find the value of PQRD. What's the meaning for Q and D are positive? Q is positive, means that cosine is this pattern, like this. And D is positive, means move to the right. So your starting points is on the right side of y-axis. Still, we need to figure out maximum value and minimum value. Maximum value, that's negative 2. Minimum value, that's negative 8. And our pattern of equation like this. So we got the A equals maximum minus minimum over 2, that's equals 3. D equals maximum plus minimum, we got the negative 5. For period, we got the 2 maximum. Then count the units between them, that's 4. 4 times pi over 4, that's the unit of this graph. That will be pi. Then B equals 2 pi over P equals 2. Now let's go to C. Since according to the Q and D are positive, we know the C is on the right side of y-axis. Pattern is a positive cosine pattern. Therefore, you can sketch the graph from here like this one. This is our C starting point. For this C, we know that it's 3 pi over 4 because you will get 3 times pi over 4. So we can write down our own pattern trig function like this, compare to this one. We know the P equals negative 5, Q equals 3, R equals 2, and D equals 3 pi over 4.